getting incredible, feedback from people and messages from people saying that the song really means a lot to them. A lot of people are going through a lot of heartache, and I think a song like that really lifts you up from that place, which music can do. It can really comfort and inspire and get people out of these dark places. So I'm glad that the music has that kind of ability and that kind of response, because it came from a real place. And like I said earlier, I think that's what makes a difference in music. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining.
Lovely to meet you too, Len. I saw your music videos on Instagram and I thought I had to speak to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I've looked at your interviews with Danie and some others, and it looks fantastic.
Great. I'm glad you could watch that. But tell me, you are a singer in South Africa. Where did your journey start? Have you always been singing as a child?
Yeah, I think my love for music started when we had an old record player that my mother used to take out every once in a while. And I never actually knew that I had the talent to sing until I reached about 16 years old in high school, when I was part of a youth group, and the lady who led the group was actually a music teacher. And she said to me, listen, I've heard you sing every once in a while, and I wondered if you wanted to come for lessons. And that's where my journey started with music. Soon after that, I discovered...
First tell me, this youth group, was it a choir or something?
No, it was like a church youth group, so for teenagers, yeah. And the youth leader, she was a music teacher by day. So she heard me singing on the side of a piano, and she said, wouldn't you like to come for lessons? And that's where I started kind of unraveling this gift. Soon after that, I discovered the guitar, where I started to write my own kind of songs and ideas. It was mostly for like personal journal entries that I wrote the songs. And later, maybe by the end of my school year, of my matric year, I was invited to perform at call it a festival in my hometown in Richards Bay. And then I started performing these songs live in front of people. Wow. And started getting very good feedback. So, yeah, you never know.
Was it daunting for you to first sing your own written song?
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what to. It exposes you in a way that you've never actually been exposed. So for me, it was a very personal thing that I had to start sharing with people. But I also realized that you can't really keep your gift wrapped under, a blanket or under a bucket. You have to put it on a lampstand so it can be a light to people. And I realized it became more and more a journey of faith and testimony. And then I realized it's part of my calling, if you want to call it that, yeah.
But at that time, when you wrote, and of course you had the singing lessons, did you have a chance for your music teacher to hear your lyrics?
No, actually, she's actually a big supporter of my music now, after which she always claims that she was the start of it, So
I'll give her the credit.
I'll give her the credit, because I think if it wasn't for her to give me that confidence and say, listen, come for lessons and maybe perform once or twice in church, I would have never taken that step and discovered this kind of passion that I have for it.
But this is interesting, because so many artists say this, in music specifically, in dance as well, but, saying that there was this one teacher who inspired them, or one teacher who had faith in them. I think that's the thing, the one teacher who says, hey, you can do it. And you almost need that, to build that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other side is also true. When I was in primary school, I tried to join a choir because there was a girl that I liked. And the teacher actually auditioned me, and she said, I think she realized my intentions weren't to sing. So she said to me, she thinks that I'm tone deaf. So that's the other side of, a teacher can also put you down, and then you never explore that kind of side of yourself.
Well, that teacher doesn't believe in love, because you should have sung for that girl.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but can you name your teacher who inspired you to sing? Because I love that people name their teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. Her name is Lorraine, and she's also on Instagram. I'm not sure what her Instagram name is, but Lorraine is, and she's got actually a music school in Midstream in Pretoria at the moment.
Oh,
So she's
wow.
still teaching music and inspiring young people. Very, very inspiring woman. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so Len, tell me now that you started singing at, was it like competitions where you first sang your own work?
No, so it was a festival. The
Oh,
lady
okay.
recognized my gift, and I started singing at the festival. Got a great response, and then I started a band soon after, and we started gaining some momentum. We did a music video that played on MCAR, which is like a local music channel back in the day, where it got good play, and then we started getting some recognition from festivals like Art Club. We started performing at Art Club in Potchefstroom, all the arts festivals. You know, we started playing as a band, and at that same time we got some interest from record labels. So there was a record label that came to see our band perform in Pretoria. We got an agent, and the record label came to see us backstage before we did the show and said, listen, we're very interested in working with you, but unfortunately you're going to have to relocate because the business side of the music industry is, you know, in the big cities. You can't really do it from a small town in the north of Natal. So that was a big step for not only myself, but also for the band. So I think the band kind of was very hesitant to take that leap, but I just felt like this was something that I really wanted to pursue while I'm still young, and see if it's something that could become, you know, a career choice. And then I quit my job, and I decided to move by myself, and
Wow.
recorded my first EP soon after, which was very well received. Yeah.
But that must have been a hard decision to quit your job and go in faith on, you know, some promise that you can have a record deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also a romanticized idea of the music industry that you think, I'm going to, you know, leave everything behind and be discovered. I'm going to sing a song in a restaurant somewhere, and somebody's going to discover me and give me this platform. It doesn't work like that. I'm in the industry for 10 years now. And the one thing that I learned was if you want to really make a career out of it, you're going to have to work really, really hard. It's not handed to you on a platter. Even if you win a competition like a singing competition, you're still going to have to work and write the songs and, you know, plow back into your music for it to become richer and more deeper, because I think a lot of people have these superficial ideas of what it is to be a singer-songwriter, but then you become so immersed in it and you realize it's actually a whole lot of work, a whole lot of sacrifice, and I'm still sacrificing and I'm still working at it every single day. You got to have a work ethic. For me to understand the business side of it, if I can share a bit of that, I had to go intern and work behind the scenes, because I didn't understand. It's all good and well, you can sing and you can write songs, but you don't understand business. So what I did was I tried to find mentors who can help me in that regard. I started working at Merchant Music, which was a small record label in Pretoria, and my first job there was a rep, and I started working in the storerooms. I started packing CDs. I started delivering CDs to music shops to see how this whole system works, and then I would listen while I'm packing CDs. I would listen in the next room while they're having marketing meetings for the next releases, and that's where I picked up a lot of skills and a lot of hints just from working and doing the groundwork, doing the dirty work in the music industry. And from there, I started building a relationship with one of the CEOs there, and he had a small record label that I bought shares in, which was my first record label because I signed myself as an artist.
Wow.
So I didn't need to go to the big major labels. I had this platform where I could do it myself, and I really wanted to take ownership. I think a lot of artists, what they would do in a drop of a hat is sign away their ownership, and then they think it's going to happen for them. But then they sit back and relax, and they think the music labels are going to do everything for them, and that's not the case. You still have to work at it, even if you are signed at a major label. So then I was a co-owner of a smaller record label. We started an events company. I started representing other artists, and I also worked as I did an internship at a major management agency, because that's a new level for me. Now I've got the record label stuff down. Now I need to know how to manage artists. And then I started working at Clear Entertainment, and I worked for him for free, but I got exposure to international artists like Dan Patlansky and Matthew Mole. I got to work with their books. I got to work with their tours, and that way I learned the live scene. So now I've got the skills to be a manager as well, and that helped a whole lot to steer my own career from there. But yeah, like I said, if you're not willing to learn, if you're just going to sit back and relax, it's not going to come to you. You have to go search for it. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, well, you really took control. And this is actually what it's supposed to be like, because I think if I spoke to John Foster Pedley, he's the dean of the business school in Johannesburg, and we talked about this aspect of being artist and business, and every artist I speak to say, oh, I'm useless in the business side of things. And he said it's because business, as much as playing the piano, is you have to practice, and you have to be there and you have to do it. And this is what you've done now. You went out and you sort of learned about the business side of things, and now you have the control in your career as well as a singer.
Absolutely, and I know John. Actually, I've met him before.
Really?
Fantastic human, yeah. And I think it's a great thing that they're doing at that college. But I think he's got to hit the nail on the head. I think it's so important, because also in an ever-changing business, the music industry or the music business has changed so much in the last 5 years, and it continues to change. And you have to stay at the edge of what's happening, what's innovative, and what's where you have to put your attention. You can't really put your attentions on physical CDs anymore. You have to understand that it's a digital business now, and that's a whole different thing. I read this article the other day about how musicians and singer-songwriters now also have to be content creators, because in order for your music to get out, all of a sudden you have to know how to edit a video. You have to know how to speak on a camera like this, because that's how people discover your music. It's no longer just on radio. So yeah, it's an ever-changing business, and if you're not prepared to learn and be teachable, you're going to be stuck and you're going to be left behind. Yeah.
And I think it's also that thing, like you say, the content creation, and it's also using social media as a marketing tool. And I think it's so important. I mean, I've done over 800 interviews, and I've found all the people on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. So I use social media for my project, and there you really see the people. You see it also a little bit behind the scenes, and that's wonderful to see as well. So I think that also builds a better connection with your audience when you do it that way.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that, because I think in no place in history have we ever been able to connect with your specific niche audience the way we can now. I speak to my audience almost every evening on TikTok lives, and I engage with them, and I try to hear what they want to hear and what inspires them. So I'm getting a lot of feedback, which I didn't get in the past. When your music played on the radio, you don't even know that it played somewhere. But now you can track those things, and also from social media you can see what the response is to a release. For example, my latest release, Yes Okay, I can see that it's doing much better than any of my releases in the past, because I can read the algorithm, and I can read the data of that specific release, and that's all from social media marketing. I do have some amazing representation in terms of pressing media called Starburst. They send all my music to radio stations and television and print media, but my whole strategy was also built around social media and trying to connect with my audience, because if you're not doing that, you're just throwing your music out there hoping it sticks somewhere. But if you connect with someone personally and you become a part of their story, then you've done something right.
I think it's really important, and I think many musicians that I spoke to as well, we talk about that thing where you especially classical musicians, where you get on stage and talk to the audience and talk about the music, or maybe the inspiration behind the music. And it makes you then listen or perceive the music in a different way. And I think it's the same with art also, paintings, people telling a little bit behind the artwork. And social media is such a great tool for that, to sort of talk about the inspiration behind it, or just give a glimpse of where you're at, you know. And I think that's also inspiring. I think people love to hear the story.
Absolutely, it makes it relatable and tangible, because at the moment, a lot of times music just goes over your head because you don't know the story behind it. You don't know why the person, you know, is expressing those emotions or thoughts or ideas. But now it's possible for us to share the behind the scenes, like you say, constantly. And I try and do as much of that because, you know, the downfall of a lot of artists, a lot of good artists, is that they are very personal. You know, it's something that they keep close. You know, they almost don't want to, you know, there were a lot of artists that I know were against streaming because they don't want to be so exposed everywhere. And it was to their detriment because now they're behind. Now they're on streaming, but, you know, the years have passed, people move on. But so if you can connect and you can stay with, you know, what the culture is doing at the moment and trying to connect through that way, you can still influence. And that's what the reason for my music is, really to influence and inspire and encourage and bring some hope and bring some peace. And why not try and spread that as, you know, wide as I can through social media.
And I've been talking to a lot of South African singers, songwriters, and I hear from everybody that the Afrikaans music scene is so alive in South Africa, and that is so encouraging to know. And do you also feel that? Can you feel that community of Afrikaans fans, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very niche market. It's a very small market, but it's a very strong, supportive fan base. You know, people that start supporting you. I mean, I have people supporting me for the last 10 years. They haven't stopped, and it's a very loyal fan base. So that's the thing. If you connect with I think if you treat yourself, I'm an Afrikaans person, so you know it was very natural for me to sing Afrikaans and write Afrikaans, even though I'm bringing out 2 English songs in the next few months. I really connect with that audience and with that culture because I come from that culture. So if it's authentic, you know, anything authentic gets some traction. Doesn't matter what language it is, as long as it's real and it comes across authentic, then I think people enjoy it. But yeah, the Afrikaans scene is very supportive, especially on the live scene. You know, festivals are doing well, the arts festivals. Afrikaans people are very supportive of music, yeah.
And you also, now that the world's become so much smaller, that people are so much aware, and like you say, with social media, you can have following from all over the world. It seems to me also as if language is not always the barrier anymore, because just recently I spoke to a singer-songwriter who writes in French, and although I don't speak French and I can't understand the lyrics, but the music is, you know, it's somehow you get the feeling of what she's trying to say. And I think this is the great thing about Afrikaans music as well, because Afrikaans is really an expressive language. So you can get the feeling of what is being said there, even if you don't understand it.
Yeah, I've heard them say before that, you know, music is a universal language. It's a language that anybody understands. What is it, Bob Marley, that said, the beautiful thing about music is when it hits you, you feel no pain.
Oh, yeah.
So there's definitely that element of music. And like I said, I think if you're authentic with your music, the emotion comes across, and anybody can, you know, connect with emotion because we all have it.
Do you have role models in the Afrikaans music scene, or people who inspire you?
Well, I can tell you I've got a lot of respect, and I learn a lot from guys like Danie, who we've interviewed before. I actually work with him on a daily basis. I represent him as an agent, and I do all his bookings. And I also work with an Afrikaans commercial artist called John Boucher. He's probably one of the top Afrikaans artists in the country at the moment. And it's been a privilege working for these guys for the last 4 years. And I've learned a lot from the way that the work ethic. I had this discussion with John the other day, you know, just the fact that this guy always shows up. You know, you think when you're that big with that many followers, you kind of have the privilege of not showing up sometimes. You know, you can, you know, lay back a little bit. But this guy has always showed up for every single show that I've booked for him. He's always been punctual. He's always been professional at every single show. He lets fan feel like they are the only person in the room. And I think that kind of stuff you only get by walking side by side these guys. You become who you associate with. And these guys, Danie and John, both have been such inspiration for me, and mentors and teachers in the music industry, just because they are authentic. They're doing what they said they would do. And especially Danie as well, his lyrics and the way that he conducts himself at shows, it's been very professional. I've worked with other artists that aren't in that same vein, and then there's a reason why we don't work together anymore. But and it's been incredible working with two of the top Afrikaans artists in the country at the moment.
Well, it's actually on Danie's story that I came across your page. So he sort of put a reel of yours on his story, and that's how I saw it. And this is something that I also find with the artists, like the sculptors and the painters in South Africa. They share each other's work, and I find it so beautiful that people support each other, that even though it's the same genre of art, they still support each other and they still promote each other. And I think this is a beautiful thing about South Africans, that they do that.
Yeah, that's something that I want to promote. If we can say it louder, as loud as possible, I would be very happy, because it's something that I really believe in. I believe in collaboration, and I believe there's synergy in that, and it makes the songs richer. It makes the music richer. It's not a competitive thing. I feel like a lot of times, a lot of people want to make it a competitive thing, and I don't feel like music or arts should be competitive. It's a subjective thing. It's something that you have your taste and I have my taste, but it doesn't mean we have to be against each other. We can work together, and that's what I love about the culture in the industry right now. It's growing, where people are collaborating more than trying to be competitive and trying to see who's got the edge, who does it first or best. So yeah, as much as I think music awards and stuff helps the industry, I also think it promotes, that kind of competitiveness, which I really don't buy into as much. I've always tried to be independent and try to collaborate as much as I can and be open to any kind of, support and influences. So yeah, thanks Danie for the share. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I thank him too. But you mentioned now before, when we started the conversation, that you quit your job and you went to Pretoria to pursue the career. But what was your parents' reaction because I know that many times parents would say, look, this is not going to be a secure job for you. Were your parents open, and did they support you in that?
Very supportive, and I've been very lucky to have parents who support my decisions. Obviously, I have to take responsibility for my decisions, and they expect that of me. But I think there's always been a deep support. I mean, my mom bought me my first guitar, and that just shows that she was always supportive. Who knows what can happen? But I mean, I didn't see it as a career choice in the beginning, and then later I started feeling, from the response I was getting and from the passion that was growing in my heart, I felt like, you've got to do what you're passionate about, because at the end of the day, you're going to also be stuck with maybe a lot of money, but not the happiness that comes with doing what you love doing. So I had to find a way to pursue that, and I think my parents really supported that decision, even though it was quite a shock. I changed careers 3 or 4 times before I ended up here. At one stage I was a painter. I was painting buildings. At one stage I worked at a surf shop. At one stage I was a restaurateur. I was working as a host in a restaurant, and then a youth leader, and a whole bunch of things. And then I ended up, I think you have to try different things and then find what you're actually passionate about. And I think my parents allowed enough space and freedom for me to be able to find what I believe I was called to do, which is work in the music industry.
Yeah, and I think that's that thing where they say, when you find your flow, then you go with it, then this is what you want.
Absolutely. Do what you love and the money will come. That's what I've learned.
Because also sometimes in South Africa specifically, people are very focused on the university degree, and you have to study and you have to have that. And fair enough, that's true. You have to have that secure job. But do you think young people looking at you and Danie and all these South African artists, that could be also for them inspiration or for them role models to say, hey, if I put the work in, this is what I can achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. But I still think there's a place for education. I think people that need to go that route. I also studied part-time for about 5 years. So it teaches you some self-discipline, and it teaches you a whole lot of things, apart from even the education that you're getting. But I think especially if you also trying to figure out what to do, it's good to start something and see what avenues you have to take. So someone like John, he's in the educational systems, and I think he's doing amazing there, but that's part of his calling, and he had to go that route. But he loves guitars. I mean, he used to go to the Dampertlanske guitar weekends with us. So he still loves the music, but he's on the business side of things or the educational side of things. So I think there's different routes you can follow. My specific story was, part-time studying, and then, pursuing some jobs, trying to see where my place is in the music industry. So yeah, I think there's different routes. People shouldn't see just one route to get where you want to be.
Now, Len, talk to me about your music, your songs, your latest release.
So Yes Okay is probably the 50th song, maybe the 51st song that I've released. I've got over 50 songs already available online. And like I said, it started mostly as personal journal entries. And then it grew into, what I love doing and making music and getting across some sentiments and ideas that I think the world could use. And Yes Okay is one of those ideas. It started when my wife and I had a really tough time. We lost someone very close to us, to our family, and we were grieving. And I had this idea on the piano, which is like a short, melodic idea, which I didn't know what to do with. But it stood with me for a few weeks, and then after a while, I started journaling, and I actually started by writing Yes Okay, which is you are okay, as a idea to comfort my wife and to comfort myself, just saying you're okay. It doesn't matter what happened. You're going to get through this. You're stronger than you think. Almost like establishing your identity again. And that song that idea grew into a verse, and that verse grew into a chorus. And then I took that melody that I was playing on the piano, and I put the two together, and there was a song. And when I played for the first time, and it stood with me for a few weeks, I was playing this song, and my wife started saying, I think this song might be something the world could use. So then when I entered the studio again with Theo Kraus, the producer, I played him a whole bunch of songs, including some covers that I was trying to, pitch to record. And I sang him that song, and he said, well, the song that you just played me is better than all the other songs that you played me. So I think we should work on this first. So we started working on Yes Okay. And he brought in some violin players. He brought in a cello player, Ariella, and Reën, who's on the violin. And he just made this massive sounding song, so much so that we pitched it for a movie, and the movie's going to use it for Showmax next year, which is incredible. It's a massive platform for me. And then also we did a remix of the same song, Yes Okay, which is also now available on streaming platforms. Getting incredible, feedback from people and messages from people saying that the song really means a lot to them. A lot of people are going through a lot of heartache, and I think a song like that really lifts you up from that place, which music can do. It can really comfort and inspire and get people out of these dark places. So I'm glad that the music has that kind of ability and that kind of response, because it came from a real place. And like I said earlier, I think that's what makes a difference in music.
En dwaal in die richting van die ewige stryd. Moenie bang wees vir niks nie, en laat jou oë toe gaan. Voel jou pyn diep tot hier binne. Dit is lang al uitgelê, asof tyd nie bestaan nie.
it's honest, it's like you felt it and you could relate and you wrote the music. So how wonderful.
Yeah, and I must say also the approach to this album was much different than all of my other albums. In the beginning, as a young guy, I was focusing so much on singing correctly, hitting the right notes, sounding nice. And with this EP recording, we really focused on the emotion. The producer, Theo, would call me back in after I sang the song and he would say, that sounded very nice, but I don't believe you. I don't believe when you're singing that. And then we had to discuss what the song is about. Oh, the song is about this. Okay. So then I would go back into the studio or into the sound booth, and then he would, have me singing it again. And then I would sing it much differently because I was in that mindset of what the song is about. And it was the first time I approached music that way. We didn't take out all the kinks or the, places where my voice broke, because we wanted that realness. I remember this one instance, I wrote a song for my son called Verwachtings, and it's also coming out 11 October. But I sang the song, and he also once again called me back in, and he talked to me about my son. And when I went back and I put the headphones on, he played a voice note of my son over my ears before I sang. And that just broke me apart. Then I sang the song, and towards the end of the song, you can actually hear it on the recording. I started, bawling my eyes out. I started crying. I couldn't carry on singing. So we left it in. We didn't leave the crying in, but I stopped singing. And then that last note that I sing is so emotional because you could hear my voice is like, shaky. But I think that's stuff, that's stuff that will not be able to be copied by AI or whatever is making music. That personal human element is going to set music apart. And that's what I really wanted to do with this latest album.
I love that you kept it in the recording, because that's sometimes what musicians also say, is that live performances, there's always something, it's a little bit out of your control. So the emotions are there. And if you, like you say, if your voice breaks a little bit or so on, whereas with recordings, you can do it over and over again. So you can get it almost perfect. But then this is why people love live performances, because of the fact that it's so authentic, that it's just there. So you kept it. You did it actually in a recording, which is amazing.
Yeah, we did. I mean, at most, we did the song 3 times. I mean, in my previous recordings, we would do 7 or 8 takes, or break the song apart and do only the verse and only the chorus. For these latest recordings, we really focused on the emotion. And like I said, if, we could both feel it, after that last, take, we would say, okay, Len, I felt that. And then I would be like, yeah, I felt it as well. Okay, cool. And then we moved on. So it wasn't like, I think you've got a bum note there, or I think you've missed that. Or no, it was more like, I felt that. So what else do we need? We just need that to feel it. And if it comes across that way, I'm very thankful, because for me, it was a very emotional process, because this whole album was, very emotional for me. Just because it's personal stories. I took time with the music. I took time with, the lyrics, and to try to come across the way I wanted to. So I'm very excited for people to hear the whole EP. Right now, only Yes Okay is released. On the 20th of September, we've got a cover coming out. It's my first English recording that I've done. And then the rest will be released on 11 October. But people can already pre-save it on my Spotify, Apple Music. It's called Arende and Engele, because my son is called Arend. And I wrote the whole EP for my family. Yeah.
I'm going to put it on my playlist.
Please, yeah.
No, definitely.
Daar is niks om te vrezen. Van alles zoveel meer dat jij kan leren. Dat je die stof in ziet en weer probeert. Als je niet op kan staan, jij is oké. Al voel je soms zo klein als jij nog jij met de gebreekte haar. Oh, aanbekleed, al had jij alles gegeven.
But do you sometimes get confronted by the idea of it has to, you said now you always thought of your voice having to be a certain way, or that the music had to have this specific sound. But you wrote now very authentically. Do you think it's easier when it comes like that, or when you think of this should be a hit, or will it be a hit, or will people like it?
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing, because for me, I often step into that kind of space where I try to compare myself, and I think that's that old saying that says comparison is the thief of joy, and it takes out the joy for me to try, and I do that often. I mean, I'm not I'm not good at it. I'm very hard on myself to not compare myself, but you still do it. You still try and compare yourself and see where you weigh in a scale. But that's the one thing that you should try and avoid as an artist, because your music is a very personal taste, and if it resonates with a certain amount of people, who are you to say it's not successful? Because it only resonates with a certain amount of people. So I had to work hard, and I'm still working very hard to try and stay true to my identity and remember why I started doing this. It was never to be very famous, or tour the world, or the world's idea of success, having a lot of money. It was always to really share something that can bring hope and encourage. And I try to stay true to that, because I think as soon as you move away from the reason why you started doing that, you become disheartened, and you feel like you're not enough. But who says that,
Exactly.
Also, because I'm an independent artist, I don't have a massive record label or network supporting me. I do everything by myself. I'm a one-man record label. I have to be wary of not trying to compare myself to a massive network where the platform I've been given, I'm thankful for, and I'm trying to support that platform and trying to invest in that platform so that more people can use and find my music. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I feel like
but it is
staying true to yourself.
Yeah, it's. I think we're moving away from that massive platform idea to more smallest viable audience. The people that are really committed to the work you're doing, or who are loyal and who support you and who want to listen to your music. And I actually read an article a while ago about what has the highest vibration. What emotion has the I think emotion has the greatest vibration, and I thought it would be love, but it's not. It's authenticity. I think, has about 3 times more vibration than love. So,
Wow.
and this makes so much sense if you think what you were saying now about, you were singing about your son and you had that emotion, but that was authentic. So this would be something that people pick up on your music, and also the other songs that you wrote, because it's authentic, people will pick up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of that beautiful quote in Into the Wild, that movie. I think it's Thoreau, right? Rather than love, than money, than fame, than faith, than fairness, give me truth.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to stand by. I try to be truthful about it.
You nailed it. Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely true.
En laat het asem haal.
But Len, tell me now, what are the wishes for you for the future?
Sure. I think it's hard when you've kind of ticked off your bucket list. I've had a long bucket list with my wife, and we kind of ticked off the last thing, which was tour Amsterdam, Netherlands. And we've been to Netherlands in the March this year. So now I have to start a new list, becoming a father was one of those bucket list things. And we're hoping for a second. And I think if I can just carry on doing what I'm doing and being true to myself, I'll be a very happy man. I'm not a man of big ambitions and trying to ascertain or actually acquire a whole lot of material things. I'm actually happy where I am and stay content But if my music career can carry on for another 10 years, I would be very happy and very pleased.
I wish you could put Vienna on your bucket list.
Oh, Vienna, absolutely.
I would so love, I have this wish that a lot of South African artists would come to Vienna and we do a great South African festival here. How about that?
Amazing. I would love to. I recently watched a series that was shot in Vienna, and I just thought it's the most beautiful scenery there. Yeah, it's incredible.
What series was that?
It's called Ripley on Netflix.
I'm going to have a look.
It's incredible, yeah. I think it's Vienna. Yeah, but
Okay.
I just thought it's beautiful, yeah.
But let's put the wish out there. Then we do a great festival, in Vienna.
Good idea.
A great South African
Absolutely.
festival with all the artists and the dancers and the singers and the painters and the sculptors. Everybody come here. That's my great
idea.
I don't know where to start, but hey, I'm putting it out there. Somebody's going to help me, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would love to do that, yeah.
But Len, have a lovely day, and thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad that Danie put you on his or shared your reel on his story. Thank him for me as well.
I will absolutely appreciate your time, and thank you for contacting me.
It's a great
Vind weer jouzelf en dwaal in die richting van die eeuwige strijd. Moenie bang wees vir niks nie en laat jou oor toe gaan. Voel jou pijn diep tot hier binne. Dit is lang al uitgeleef, asof tyd nie bestaan nie. En laat dit asem haal. Want daar is soveel meer wat jy kan leer uit hierdie stof en seer en weer probeer as jy net op kan staan. Jy's okay. Al voel jy soms so klein, is jy nog jy met 'n gebreekte hart. Hou aan beklei, al het jy alles gegee. Jy's okay. Leef in die rigting van die ewige lig. En daar is niks om te vrees nie. Want daar is soveel meer wat jy kan leer uit hierdie stof en seer en weer probeer as jy net op kan staan. Jy's okay. Al voel jy soms so klein, is jy nog jy met 'n gebreekte hart. Hou aan beklei, al het jy alles gegee. Jy's okay. En laat het